The first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. If Japan does not surrender, bombs will have to be dropped on her war industries, and unfortunately, thousands of civilian lives will be lost.
8, 7.
It took the bomb 43 seconds from the time we dropped it at 30,000 feet until the time it exploded at 18,000 feet. The first thing you saw was that large white cloud that was up well above our altitude. If you look down to the city of Hiroshima, it just looked like a pot of boiling oil covering the city.
6, 5.
To say it was frightening is an understatement. I think it shocked us all into silence. When the flash hit you, you could see the x-rays of your hands through your closed eyes.
4, 3.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
2, 1.
I bomb atomically.
Welcome to the Bomb Atomically podcast, the only podcast where Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define how we be dropping these mockeries. I'm Tones. I'm here joined by J-Mac.
What's going on, yo?
And Professor Joey Colombo.
Kids learn everything from videos nowadays.
He's not wrong. Anytime I need to learn how to do something, I go straight to YouTube.
Straight to the tube.
Yep.
Sometimes even better, we get it from a GIF or a meme.
Yeah, TikTok or something, you know.
Literally, like, everything I've fixed in my house over the last, 6 years, my house, my car, anything has been from a YouTube video.
Yeah, people are upset because, I don't know if you saw, but they got rid of the dislike button on YouTube. So now, when you're looking for stuff like that, you don't know if it's a good video or not because you just see the thumbs up. You don't see the thumbs down.
Oh, shit.
This is what happens. These goddamn millennial snowflakes can't take a thumbs down. Got to protect their feelings.
Of course.
Now, I don't know how to add fucking coolant to my car's air conditioning system.
You end up blowing up your car in the process. Watch the wrong video.
Yeah, I pumped it into the fucking goddamn motor oil chambers and shit.
Well, you could do what I ended up doing and putting... what did I put? I put the antifreeze in the windshield wiper fluid spot. But I didn't know I bought antifreeze. I thought it was windshield wiper fluid. So I'm like, I didn't even realize. And I go to my mechanic and he's like, dude, he slaps me in the back of the head mad hard. He's like, are you a fucking idiot? You could have killed yourself. I guess because of the chemicals, it's coming through my air conditioner. And I thought the fucking weird smell was. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, so we need dislike videos on YouTube, folks, please. Just don't dislike our video.
Yeah, well, you can't, so too bad. You have to like it.
Not allowed.
So this is episode 4. We're going to be talking about Hellbound, the Korean Netflix series. But before we get into that, we're going to try something a little new. So last episode, we did the songs, and we set up a whole Spotify playlist and everything with all those songs. Some off-brand versions on there. I didn't realize when I uploaded it, but
that's what happens.
Suits us though.
6-year-old doesn't know the fuck the Beach Boys are, for Christ's sake. Well, that's what happens when you don't grow up watching fucking Full House.
It was like the Fun Surfers. I think that's what they named the group.
It's close enough.
It works. It suits us. We're the off-brand. That's us.
Yeah, exactly.
Dollar General.
But because of that, I had the idea of setting up Spotify playlists for, I haven't fully decided if we're going to do 3 individual ones or just do one for the whole show. But, every couple episodes, we're kind of just going to, give you some of the songs that we're listening to. So if you want to check it out, we have the Spotify playlist there. So I guess, do you want to do a Serpentine draft again? I just want to rattle them off, make it quick. Joey, why don't you go first? Give us what you got.
Sure. I'll give you a few songs here. It's been a hell of a year, 2021. I got my Spotify most listened songs, and it's weird because I'll be playing my guitar to songs, so certain songs are on there, and I'm like, no, I don't actually listen to that song. I play that song, and it's just it's weird, because it's like certain songs that I play with, and I listen to them obviously, but like they're not in my listening rotation as much as the songs I listen to. It's weird, but so I try to not do those. So, well, I like all different kinds of music, but mostly I've been listening to a lot of punk and a lot of more punk that's geared into like focusing like storytelling, songwriting. So I'll go with the Mensingers, this band from outside Philadelphia, somewhere in Pennsylvania, maybe Wayne County. But the song's called Mexican Guitars. And on my Mexican guitar, right? Great story in the song, that's just been in rotation. Been listening to that one a lot. Actually saw them a couple of weeks ago in the city. It was fucking hell of a time. And it was also, just real quick, it's so bizarre because it's like my first shows since going at, COVID and everything. And I haven't drank in like a year and a half. So like I go to the concert and I'm like, it's so weird. I didn't talk to one person, like normally I'd be like in everybody's ear at the bar, like, oh my God, like a fucking on running my mouth. And it was just so surreal. Just like, I didn't talk to anybody the whole night. Anyway, just weird. Yeah. Anyway, Mexican Guitars, the Mensingers. There's one.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll go through. J-Mac, you want to give us one?
Yeah, I'm actually going off of the top 5 songs I listened to this year through Spotify. And I mostly listen to hip hop, East Coast hip hop specifically. But one song made it on here that I was surprised about, and I'll get to that later. But actually, you know what? I'll do it backwards, so I'll get to the number 1 song. But Sean Price, Brooklyn's own, his song "Boom Bye Yay," spelled boom like BOOM, and then bye, goodbye, and yay is actually YEA. That song is most of these songs are songs that get me pumped. I noticed that all of them are on one of my workout playlists, except for one that confused me that it even got into the top 5. Not that I don't love it, I just didn't think I listened to it that much. So that was it. Sean Price, okay. R.I.P.
So I don't have Spotify, so I don't have a top 5. I actually have 4 songs. So normally I would give 2 here, but I'll just give 1. Sticking with the theme of the Bomb Atomically podcast, the song is called Wu-Tang by, I don't know if you ever heard of Logic. He's a little bit newer for you guys. I know you're old heads. But he actually has he actually has the entire Wu-Tang clan on this song. Like, they each have a verse. It's like 9 minutes long. And I do like Logic. He's out of the newer rappers, he's one of the better lyricists out there. It's not my favorite, but he's definitely up there in terms of lyricism. So it's cool. He leads it off, and then each of them has a verse. It's a good song. So headed back to J-Mac.
This is actually that Logic song is dope. I do know that. It's honestly the only Logic song I do know.
Yeah,
because
I don't listen to him a whole lot, but like that popped up on my YouTube one day, and I was like, what's this? And then because a lot of times people make their like edits on YouTube where it's like they just mash different verses together.
So especially when it comes to Wu-Tang. I mean, there's been so many Wu-Tang mashup albums. I mean, there's a Wu-Tang, was it the Magical Mystery Chambers, where they mashed up Beatles and Wu-Tang songs together. There was a Jimi Hendrix one they did. There was something else. Anyway, this next song is actually spoke about it last week on the movie podcast. I was surprised when it popped up in the top 5 songs I listened to this year, because I didn't think I listened to it that often. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's one. I have a lot of different kinds of music in different playlists, but like I'm really not always in the mood for a lot of it. But this song I'd never seem to skip. Like I always actually let it play when it comes on, and it's "Rhythm of the Night" by DeBarge.
Nice.
Oh yeah, dude! Actually, I've been rocking that lately since our last episode, because I've been listening to that movie playlist, and that shit comes on, and I'm like, hell yeah! It's like swaying my hips, like
that's the jam right there, man.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
All right, so Joey, I guess give us 2.
Yeah, I guess I could give you two. So I guess I'll go with these two. The first one is it's in the same vein as the Menzingers. It's like a punk influenced. I don't know, whatever, fuck rock and roll, baby. But band is called Alkaline Trio, and usually their songs are a little on the softer, slower side compared to other punk influenced bands. But this song is fucking rocking, bro. It's full of speed, and then it has a slowdown, drops, and it's called Minds Like a Minefield. And it's just such a vivid, weird image, like minds like a minefield, and like I just goes through relationships and different other aspects of life, and like thinking about that and the way, sometimes you're like overthinking things and shit, and sometimes, thinking about somebody else when you're in a relationship and try to run through their mind, like, and just the thought and the correlation of all this is just pretty freaking interesting, mixed with the speed and intensity of the song, and it's just a 3-piece bass, guitar, drums, so they bring thunder to it, and it's been in my rotation lately, and just figured I'd just throw it out there, man.
Nice. Yeah, no, I like that idea of how, like you said, overthinking things. You could hurt yourself, not maybe not physically, but by overthinking things. Like it's like a minefield, so I like that. Who you said it was? Who's the
Alkaline
the
Trio?
Alkaline Trio. Okay.
Yeah, crossing my mind's like a minefield. It's got this fucking groove, but it's like it opens up like once upon a time when we both lost our minds and our memories destroyed our common sense. And it starts off there, but again, then it ends up, touching on other different things like forgotten friends, and then it goes into your own head, disarming myself. Anyway, it's freaking rad, man. I like the analogy and the play with the consonants of the M sound and military-esque battlefield war. It's pretty cool.
That's an alliteration, right? When you have like minds like a minefield, when you got like the same letter. Is that what that is?
I think it's consonants if it's with.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah,
not a vowel.
Okay.
Fucking English lesson.
Yeah, that's why we keep you around.
I think I'm the worst, bro. I'm the worst English professor in the world when it comes to that. Let's see. Let's Google this shit. Consonants. Pretty sure consonants. Plainly put, consonants is a repetition of constant sounds in a line, stanza, or sentence. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I think I was kind of right too. Alliteration is the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning or of adjacent or closely connected words.
Nice.
So maybe I should be an English professor.
You definitely should.
All right, so you got one more, and then back to J-Mac?
Yeah. And, let's see. Yeah.
You okay?
No, I'm thinking, I was thinking which song I should put with it, because I have one that, I go with the same kind of music versus the same kind of theme. So you're gonna like the name of this band. The name of the song is "My Best Friend Is a Nihilist," right? And that works nicely too. And the name of the band is Iron Chic, like
nice,
spelled like CHIC.
Like chic. All right.
Yeah. So like chic like that, but said like Iron Chic.
That's
nice.
funny.
More wordplay, more fun.
Nice.
Again, great fucking lyrics. Here's the opening lyrics. It's hard to be a human being. How can we, when we're not even quite sure what being human means?
Preach.
Fucking
Preach.
Deep, deep, very existential album, because it's the album that it's on is there's two major factors that influenced it. One of the guys that was in the band passed away, and then the lead singer got a divorce. So, a lot of questioning, things like that. So, and also, great imagery. Here's the chorus. It's like driving a runaway hearse. I can't stop, I just make things worse. Come on and take the wheel from me. Put me out of my misery. And then it continues. Yeah, it's pretty fun,
Nice.
It's like driving a runaway hearse,
Sweet.
So again, it's got a fast pace, but a somber tone in the album. Again, it's just, they have like these like sounds. Like I'll be driving in a car, and sometimes I think it's like a cop going whoop whoop, like in the background. It's like very low. Fucking awesome band, great song. Iron Chic, check them out. New York, Long Island boys.
Nice, shout out. All right, J-Mac?
Next one I got, this is a song that, like, by the time it's over, I usually want to, like, punch somebody in the face or, like, stick up a bodega or something. But I got Annie Up, the remix by M.O.P. featuring Busta Rhymes, Remy Ma, and Teflon.
Classic.
It's on my workout it's one of the songs that's on my workout playlist, and when you're trying to, you're busting your ass trying to friggin' get things done, just nothing could pump you up more than the beginning of that when Busta Rhymes is screaming and stuff. It's a fantastic.
That'll definitely get you going.
What? Busta Rhymes.
And growing up as a little kid, I always hoped to one day have a voice like Bill Danzy from M.O.P.
Well,
he's the last verse of the song for anybody unfamiliar with the group.
M.O.P. now, Busta Rhymes now.
Exactly.
All right, nice. So I got two now. I'm going to go with Creepin' Death by Metallica. Now, if you're not familiar with the song, you could just listen to this for face value, and it's, classic Metallica, heavy, fast pace. But if you listen to the lyrics, it's written from the perspective of the angel of death, the one in like the Old Testament that helped free the Jews from Egypt.
Oh yeah.
So it's like my friend Tom from TNT, he's a huge Metallica fan, like diehard, and he says like whenever like Metallica has like writer's block, they just go to the Old Testament and, and they just like write. But it is. It's,
slaves, Hebrews, pharaohs. Why not? Let's do it, right?
Yeah.
It's so crazy because as a teenager, I never, I just, just like, wow, just it opens up with a shriek, but it's like slaves, and it's like, what? And then the next lyric is Hebrews, and I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? Yeah. So, because you just listen to the pure adrenaline that runs off this song and everything, and that's the beauty of music. Sometimes, it's just the feeling and the music and the lyrics. It's not even about what they mean sometimes that drives you, but just the sound of the words they're saying, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, when I used to, listen to the song and not even pay attention to the words, but my friend pointed it out to me, and I mean, the chorus, so let it be written, let it be done. I'm sent here by the chosen one, so let it be written, let it be done. They kill the firstborn Pharaoh's son. I'm creeping death, and then they go back into it.
You're creeping death.
So I've been listening to that pretty hard. And then my second one is a song called Revenge by Joyner Lucas. He's probably Logic's one of the better lyricists, newer lyricists. I think Joyner's my favorite, I guess new school, whatever you want to call him, who actually still raps. But this one I recommend watching the music video because the music video is basically they're doing like a bank heist and they, turn on Joyner and they try to kill him and take his part of the stash or whatever. And then the whole music video is him getting revenge on them. So it's him going through and taking out everybody. Spoiler alert, sorry, but definitely check out the music video, if not just the song. But yeah, so those are my two. Back to J-Mac.
All right, where we at? Almost forgot. Here we go. So this one is by the group Zarface, which Anybody unfamiliar, Zarface is kind of like a side project of Inspector Deck from the Wu-Tang Clan. It's him, DJ 7L, and Esoteric. It's from the album Zarface Meets Metal Face, so the whole album features MF Doom. It's from a few years back, and the song is Bomb Throne. And it's another one that just gets me hype. And I realize it. I listened to it a lot this year, probably because after, they announced on New Year's that Doom passed away, his family, and at that point I was listening to a lot of Doom, and I had that whole album kind of heavily rotated this past year. So,
did they ever figure out how he died? Was it COVID or was it some?
Nah, it wasn't COVID related.
Okay.
I forget exactly. I don't know if the family officially announced it. Very mysterious dude, especially. I mean, I don't even know if you know because you were so young, but he was before he was MF Doom, he was Zev Love X from KMD, was a rap group from Long Island. They did a lot of stuff with the group Third Base, which was the two white boys with the black DJ. They did Pop Goes the Weasel and Step Into the AM, and they had the Cactus album. Pete Nice.
Mr. Nash's son?
Yeah, it was Mr. Nash's son. He was the gym teacher in me and Joey's high school. So his son was, Doom at the time was like 14 years old, and he was on their album.
Oh, wow.
He was like crazy young.
Yeah.
Him and his brother made up the group KMD. They had a song called Peach Fuzz. And then his brother passed away. I believe he was killed. I might be wrong. I was so young when all that shit was going on. But a few years after, they stopped doing KMD because the brother passed away, he became MF Doom. And, so Bomb Throne, it's hard shit.
Nice. Yeah, I don't feel as bad about knowing those people you were talking about, knowing that it's your gym teacher's son. I thought it was like someone I should know a little bit more, but now I don't feel as bad.
You should know who MC Search is a little bit, because he's, for a white dude, he was pretty influential in a lot of crap in hip-hop. Like Nas, before Nas put out Illmatic, Nas was on his song Back to the Grill, or Kick 'Em in the Grill, whatever the fuck the name of the song, whichever one it is. Actually, in the takeover, when Jay-Z's going at Nas and Jay-Z says, something about the publishing, I know who I paid, Searchlight Publishing. Searchlight Publishing is MC Search's company. He had a management deal with Nas and got Nas his deal for Illmatic, which made Nas a millionaire in a weekend when it came out. So, it
was a big deal back then, that kind of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially for a kid from Queensbridge who had nothing.
Right. Exactly. Joey, you have your last two?
Yes, sire. Excuse me. Last two. Song is called Pieces of the Night by the Gym Blossoms. You guys know about the Gym Blossoms? You know that band?
I do not.
I do.
You know the song Hey Jealousy?
He doesn't. He was fucking 2 when that song came out.
It's like a fucking classic song, though. Like, they play that shit in the grocery store and everything.
If he heard it, he probably recognized it.
I might be able to recognize it, but off the name, I don't recognize it.
Can I play it for like 5 seconds?
Probably not getting us.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Or whatever.
I wouldn't. I'll check it out when I put it on the Spotify.
It's what's that song? I wanna drive around this town and let the cops chase us around. Let me get the guitar. Let's go. No. But the song is by the Gym Blossoms. The song is called Pieces of the Night, though. It's not one of their hit songs. They never played us on the radio. It's off their album New Miserable Experience, which was their hit album with Hey Jealousy and Found Out About You and all that. The song is about getting drunk. Pieces of the Night, right? And, J-Mag, we had a lot of drunken nights, right?
Okay.
I've been on the wagon, though, 1.5 years now, and though this song, it just reminds me of those days. It reminds me of those moments, and like I said, I've been, playing a lot of music, writing songs, and I've been listening to a lot of singer-songwriter stuff, and the Gym Blossoms is a band that I really, really dug since I was a kid. I actually had this album on tape. I got it from like Columbia House or BMG Music. Remember that thing? You like scan them for the CDs, you know? You get them for a penny and then you got to buy them. Remember those days?
I never participated, but I've
Columbia
heard,
House.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
My dad used to let me pick out like a bunch of CDs and stuff. He'd get it and be like, all right, yeah, I get, 20 of them. So he'd let me and my sister split them. And then, that's how I'd end up with all kinds of rap stuff I probably shouldn't have had at the age of 10.
Yeah. And so, the song, though, it does have a lot of other shit behind it. Not just the actual song, but it was written by Doug Hopkins, who was one of the founding members of the band, although they kicked him out of the band in the early years of the band because he was fucking drunk all the time, man. Drinking problem. Then he committed suicide a year later, But he did write many amazing songs, including Hey Jealousy. He wrote that one. And, you listen to the song and you think about it and like you could hear the pain and shit that he felt, man. And that's a very universal thing. And even like it opens up with the lines, isn't it any wonder that the stars just don't rush by when you're only doing 60 through this oh so vacant night, but it's lacking something big this time. What the hell did you expect to find? Aphrodite on a bar stool by your side, and I love, you get that vision of Aphrodite on there, but it's lacking something big this time. And even if it's not, you're not dealing with alcoholism and drinking and all that, you still have something there that you can relate to,
Yeah.
And, yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say, that's the beauty of music, that, even if what the songwriter had intended, even if you don't feel that, like it could still make you feel something else, like along those lines. And you were even talking about, listen to this song, remind you of like drunken nights you've had, like you just like certain songs just bring you back like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's we've all been through intense struggles, and like we've all worked hard and gotten little reward for it, and again, it's universal themes through the storytelling, and like when you're younger, you don't really, at least I think most people don't appreciate the lyrics of music as much as when, you actually get older and start listening, thinking deeper, and then experience life and other things you start thinking about, like, what the hell are we? Who are we? What are human beings? Why do human beings act like animals? What, all that crazy shit that you never really thought about, like when you're a teenager and a young adult,
Yeah.
The existential questions, the morality questions, and all that kind of shit. So
Absolutely. I mean, getting back to Metallica real quick. I mean, I started listening to Metallica in high school when Guitar Hero Metallica came out, and at that point I was just like, it's fast, it's hard, it sounds good. But as you get older, like you start looking at the lyrics and stuff, like Master of Puppets. I love that song. Never knew what it was about until I sat down and looked at the lyrics, and you're like, oh shit, like this guy was going through some shit. Yep. Exactly.
Line it up.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about music too, is like you could listen to the same song throughout your life at different periods and get something different out of it each time.
Absolutely, man. And for this last song, I've been rocking this whole album, but this is the first song on the album called Spirito Divino by Zucchero. He's a Italian fucking guitar player, dude. He's
Sounds
sick.
like it.
Dude, he's sick.
Yeah.
But the song is called Voodoo Voodoo. Voodoo Voodoo. And then it's the song's actually, he has an Italian version, he has Italian versions, English versions. A lot of the songs on this album are actually in English, including this one. The opening lines, he goes like, it's like a voodoo voodoo thing going on. And then like when the song kicks in, it's like, why don't you react to my mojo? I love this fucking line. Why don't you react to my mojo, baby? I love that line, man. Don't seem to work, and I don't know why. My love potion never let me down. Now it won't take hold no matter what I try. Obviously, it doesn't sound anything like the way I'm reading it, like a fucking poem or something, you know?
Yeah.
And he's always got the imagery of like black cats in his music. He even has an album called Black Cat, like that came out probably 10 years after this. But you know, it's like it's a fucking awesome song, man. I wish we could play it. It gets me hype, you know. Just half the time I don't even know what he's saying. He's like, I want you questa notte de estete. You know, I'm like, all right, I know night is in there. I know notte, you know, and then, like all this, you know, Italian. I need you senza troppe parole. But most of the song is in English, right? Except for a few lines. And like I said, you know, if you want to hear a fucking Italian song that's like badass and not like, you know, something you just hear like, you know, this classic like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking, or like, you know, Dominic the Donkey, which
we were talking about that a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
Kind of like hokey music, kind of, but
yeah. Like this shit is just like, why does she react to my mojo, man? Yeah, he's like a fucking smooth operator, bro, you know? And, you know, also reminds me of like my childhood, listening to Italian music, my old Guinea dad and that kind of shit, you know? Fucking good shit. But yeah, I've been rocking that album lately, and beginning to end, it's awesome. It's like a wide range of different kind of music. His music, it'll be like a ballad and a rocker, and then like some like kind of fucking hip dancey shit. It's fucking cool, dude. Cool shit. And he's just like 3 decades of albums.
Jeez.
This dude.
Nice.
Yeah. Zucchero. Means sugar.
Now that we got our weekly Italian lesson from Professor Joey, we can move on to J Mac for his last one.
Yeah, it's the last one. It's about to. All right, the song is called Living Proof by Group Home. It's produced by DJ Premier. This is a song that I loved as a kid and then over time just kind of forgot about. And actually, while watching the DJ Premier RZA Versus, it was one of the songs Premier played. And when it came on, like the second it came on, I was like, holy shit, I remember that song. Yeah. And then I had to track it down, and then it's been, you know, heavily rotated over the last year. It's just hard as nails. Oh, our boy Inspector Deck, his sampled from his verse on Cream is the, you know, the hook of the song. Be living proof and all that kind of shit. So
nice.
So it's hard. It's another one that it comes on and like I have to turn the goddamn radio as loud as it gets in the car to be able to appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned about you. I think you know, we got to watch out for you robbing any bodegas. You know,
yeah, that's what I like, bro. Dude, I'm such a laid back, chilled fucking person in general that like when I listen to music, it's got to be stuff that gets me pumped. You know, like I could listen to some chill stuff, but the majority of what I listen to is to like get me motivated and through the day. You know what I mean?
Ski mask and gloves. Let's go.
Yeah, you know. And a lot of this shit is shit I grew up on. Well, not all. Living Proof is like a song from childhood. But like Annie Up, you know, the Boom Bae song's probably from like my early 20s. I think it came out like in 2005. So,
yeah.
You know.
It's hard for me to get into new music, man.
Yeah. A lot of the new stuff just isn't good. And, I mean, part of it is, I think, just like the quality overall is kind of deteriorated. But also, I think if you look at any generation, there's always like the shitty pop music that's out. And then, you know, there are the better songs sprinkled in there, but you only remember the better ones. Like if you go back and listen, I'm sure there's some terrible songs from the 90s, but you only remember what you liked.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you know, fucking Ice Ice Baby was a hit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That dude sold a fuck ton of records. If it wasn't for Suge Knight and Queen robbing his ass, he'd be printing money still, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I listen to this podcast. It's called Chris DeMakes a Podcast. Chris DeMakes is the guitarist and singer from a band I love called Less Than Jake. And when COVID started, he started up this podcast. So what he does is he started interviewing guys from bands, and you know he deconstructs songs and like talks about it. And like this whole like what makes a hit, you know what I mean? It's crazy, like what makes a hit, you know what I mean? And you remember that song Inside Out by Eve 6? I would swallow my pride, I would choke on the rhyme,
Yeah.
So that guy was on there. And bro, he told his story about how that song, you know, he wrote it when he was like a sophomore in high school. And you look at the lyrics, deep shit or whatever, but they got signed when they were juniors in high school, a deal with, you know, whatever, whoever, HR fucking company it was, you know, big thing, because they saw potential in the band. And like, originally, that wasn't the song that they wanted to put out as the hit, you know? It was their second single, which was nowhere near the hit that song was, you know? So, like, what makes a hit, you know? Back in the day, it was payola, you know, and that's a whole nother conversation, right?
Yeah.
That shit is crazy.
That's an episode in itself.
Yeah, that's an episode in itself, you know, where they paid the DJs to pump out the records or whatever. But, you know, like, what makes a song like fucking Ricky Martin's Livin' La Vida Loca, you know, where you'll have some fucking like corny ass basic bitch like being like Livin' La Vida, and then you'll have some like thug ass motherfucker like Livin' La Vida Loca, you know, like at the same time, bro. You know what I mean? Like such contrasts.
Yeah.
You know? What makes a hit a hit? It's fucking nuts, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, we could do a whole episode on that. You know,
and next week we'll talk about Hellbound. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. So my last one, I'm sticking with the international theme that Joey started. It's actually a Japanese rap song. It's called Ichi Ma by Keith Ape, and there's a bunch of other guys in there. I've never heard of
Ma.
Yeah, Ichi Ma.
Give your mom a back scratcher, Ichi Ma. Give your mom a kick in the ass, Ichi Ma.
That's basically what the song is. I mean, but most of it's in Japanese, and there are a couple lines in English, but you don't know what they're saying the whole time, but it goes hard as fuck. You know, like, it's just like these thugged out Japanese dudes just, and the music video is pretty cool too if you want to check that out. But like, you'll listen to the song not knowing what the fuck they're saying, and you'll be all juiced up on it. So
that's funny.
Check that out. It's funny because that song came out maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and like, at least with like my friends, it was kind of like popular because it was like this novelty. Like, oh, check out these Japanese dudes like trying to be like all gangster and shit. But I just like popped into my head the other day, and I started listening to it again, and it fucking slaps.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna bust out the Japanese band Baby Metal. You ever heard of them?
I'm not familiar with Baby Metal.
Yeah, I know them because they've done a bunch of stuff for wrestlers, like NXT would always make them you know, theme song by Baby Metal, and like these little Japanese chicks would be screaming into microphones.
That's funny, bro.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, think about like, you hear music in Japanese, you have no idea what you're saying, but you're rocking the fuck out to it, you know?
Yeah.
I do that with a lot of Spanish music, like Selena shit, like Como La Flor. Bro, I will sing my ass off in the shower. I'm not even saying words, I'm just making sounds that kind of sound like Spanish. But shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely, bro.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with K-pop, but I don't really listen to any of it, but like, some of those songs are catchy as fuck. Like, we're talking about what makes a hit. Like, I think the Koreans got it figured out. They got some kind of like Baby Shark. That's the company that makes most, that, you know, the record label that it makes most like the K-pop songs made Baby Shark, and that song is the most fucking catchy song of all time.
Wow.
So I don't know what they got.
I don't think I ever heard a K-pop song like that.
Yeah, I couldn't like.
Is it like, you know, what is it like? Is it like Backstreet Boys?
Yeah,
but
it's like Korean Backstreet Boys.
And they always get these like, you know, these cute little like Asian chicks like dancing on stage with like these catchy like electronic beats, and I don't know what they're saying, but, and I couldn't even tell you the name of one K-pop song, but they're catchy as fuck.
Wow. All right, I think this is the perfect segue to Hellbound, Korean music to Korean movie.
Yep, look at that.
TV show rather.
So yeah, we'll move on to Hellbound real quick before we get into that. Just want to let you guys know. We're going to be doing a Christmas episode. We're going to try and release it next week. We're going to be talking about our top 5 Christmas songs. Hopefully it doesn't take 38 minutes like it did this time to get through them. And
it might.
It might. We'll see. And then
And
after
talk
that,
about the time that I got cold when I was 4 years old.
and then we're going to talk about the Black Mirror episode, White Christmas, sticking with the theme. But yeah, so Hellbound, get into that. Netflix show, Korean, as we mentioned. So basic plot summary. It takes place in the not so distant future, like 2022, I think it was. But basically, there's these. I guess they call them angels. I wouldn't really call it an angel, at least what I think of. But they come to people and they say, you know, you're gonna die. They tell you when you're gonna die, and they tell you you're gonna go to hell. And then at that time, these I don't even know how to describe them. I guess they're like demons. It's kind of like the Hulk mixed with a demon and a zombie all together. And they just come and just beat the ever-loving shit out of you and steal your soul. So
It's so funny sounding. Man.
yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but you watch the first 10 minutes of this show and like it had me hooked off that first scene with the guy in the coffee shop. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? This looks pretty cool. And especially with the whole Korean thing, there's a lot of. I'm a big fan of Korean zombie movies, whether it's Train to Busan. I don't know if you guys watch that Netflix show, The Last Kingdom, or something like that.
No.
Nah, I never seen it.
Okay, well that's pretty good too. It takes place in like 1600s feudal Korea, but there's like a zombie invasion. But what I like about the Korean zombie movies is they're like fast and they're really aggressive. And that's what this kind of reminded me of right off the jump. These giant fucking things just like sprinting at you, fucking you up. But yeah, so that's kind of the basic overview of it. Initial thoughts, what did you guys think about the show? Let's go with J-Mac first.
Oh man, you know, just like you in that first few minutes, I got hooked in. To me, the monster demon things, whatever you want to call them, I've read people having all kinds of theories on what exactly they are. But, you know, if we keep them with the idea that it's a hell thing, we'll go with demons for now. But they kind of reminded me, do you remember Swamp Thing?
Yes.
Like the way their faces were, they looked very Swamp Thing in the face. Like if they put like Swamp Thing on steroids and made it like smoky instead of swampy.
Yeah. And with like an old school Thanos look.
Yeah, you know, it was so they kind of reminded me of that. But like you said, the first few minutes, man, that coffee shop scene kind of pulled me in, and it was kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? And then once, you know, they brought in the religious aspect and the cult stuff, and I'm a person that's fascinated by cults. I could watch things about cults 24 hours a day if need be. So yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, down the line there was some things I wish they kind of wrapped up differently and stuff, but you know, we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. What do you think, Joey? What did you think, I should say?
So I agree with you guys, man. What a hook, dude. Like the first line of a paper, you know, the first couple lines, that's the hook into the paper. You want to get your reader in. Same thing with a television program like that, man. You know, you want a viewer to invest, that's one way to go about it, dude. I mean, just even the way they play with the camera angles, the way it shakes, the way they play with the sound, the music, you know, very, you know, they hit those tones that, you know, grab you, that creep you out, suspenseful tones, you know.
Yeah,
and
like whenever they first show up, that like boom.
Yeah, like that shit. Ominous, like
something's about to happen.
Yeah.
That thumping noise, kind of like before you see him, you hear him coming. Mm-hmm. Very like T-Rex in Jurassic Park, kind of.
Yes.
Feeling.
Yes.
And one thing they do that I love is like, you know, he's looking at his phone at the time because he's supposed to die at like 120, I think it was, and 120 hits, and there's like 20 seconds where like nothing happens. He's like, wait, maybe it was all bullshit, and then you hear the boom. And then it comes in, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. So, you know, episode to episode, I was digging it. I was fully invested. Now, this is split up in basically like two halves, 3 episodes, and then it flash forwards 4 years into the second half. And that, after the first half, that's where I started, questioning things. Like that first half, those first 3 episodes, I did not question anything. I did not question the plot holes.
Mm-hmm.
I did not question any of that shit. I was so fully invested in this world. That's it. They had me, bro. They had me. They had the deep questions, the philosophical questions, the religious questions, the government questions, the morality questions, the societal questions. It was all there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then, I don't know if it's, the change of the characters, right? Because now you were following a specific male lead, and then it totally changes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? All right, whatever. He'll come around, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it took the wind out of the sails, so to speak, for me, and. Not that I was still invested, like the episodes went by quickly, but I didn't have that feeling in my gut when shit was happening. Mm-hmm. The novelty of the guys coming and beating people up kind of wore off until they were making it extreme for specific reasons, and we'll talk about that soon too. And that, by the end of the whole series, I'm left with a million questions, and some of them not good questions, some of them fantastic questions. And I am looking forward to season 2. I give it a recommend, but there's a lot of us to break down, discuss, and deconstruct. So overall, I dug it, man. It was interesting, but it wasn't like top tier,
Yeah. This was getting billed, like it got billed to me as the next Squid Game, which I don't know if you guys have seen that. I thought that was better than this. I thought it was very good, and not to say this was bad. I did enjoy it. I have the similar sentiments to what you guys were saying about this show, but I feel like it just kind of got that label because it was another Korean show.
Right.
I wouldn't put it in the same tier as that, but it was definitely good, and I agree with the main protagonist who was in the first 3 episodes, and then all of a sudden he disappears. I was like, okay, I kept waiting for him to come around, and maybe he's in season 2. Because there are characters that carry over, like the lawyer, and the chairman of the New Truth. New Truth is the religious organization that, runs off of this whole phenomena that happens. Because also, it is an interesting thing to think about. You read stories in the Bible, and there's all these miraculous things that happen. You're just taking one guy's word for it, or a couple people's word who saw it. Whereas with this, everything's captured on smartphones. It's right on the internet, on Twitter. It spreads. Everyone sees it. So it's like, that's the gospel right there. Like you see what's happening, and like, there's no like he said, she said. It's like that's the proof right there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go straight into the flaws, but the other, this was one of the problems. And after seeing Train to Busan and kind of how Sang-ho, the director, he's, there's a lot of familial elements to this, right? Which is that's the main part of Train to Busan, the father-daughter relationship, which is what this opens up with, and then it goes even further to family dynamics. And I think by trying to, he spends too much time building that family dynamic in the first half between the father and daughter, to abandon that to a whole nother family.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, and it was just too much of that family dynamic that in the end it didn't pay off fully. It was great, but it wasn't greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a fantastic watch, but it wasn't phenomenal television. You know what I mean?
I think myself, I would have preferred them to have done 6 episodes dealing with the detective and his daughter and their interactions with it, and delve deeper. And I would mind them dealing deeper into their connections. Or for the first woman who gets declared, what they call when the angel comes and declares that you're hellbound and stuff. Man, I had such a hard time remembering their names.
Oh, forget it.
Is it Park? Park is the woman who is the first one that the New Truth pays to televise her getting snatched by them things. And I would have rather seen a little bit more of that. They never really get into why she's a single mom. You know, they imply like maybe she's hellbound because I think he says the kid's father might have been married to somebody else, or maybe she was a prostitute, and that was one thing that they did real great in the first half for me was the head of the Arrowhead, who, I mean, if he isn't the fucking a spin-off of the what's that dude, the shaman guy from January 6th.
Yeah, the shaman.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the shaman.
Wearing the skull thing on his head and all that kind of stuff. You know, like just so like QAnon kind of it's just relatable to that kind of stuff. These people on the internet, you know, this is this because of this and that, and you know, and I mean, they find the kids' pictures. You know, this lady who they know is bound for hell. They find the pictures of the kid. They what's it called? They freeze frame on something that shows like a bruise. And they're like, oh, they beat the kid, and it's like. And it just shows how now, because of social media and the internet, how quickly people are able to take one thing out of context and make a completely different narrative behind it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. It's just the first 3 episodes is throwing you all over the place. You're part of that, like, not that it's a police procedural, but it's almost like investigative, right? You're following a detective, he's trying to figure it out, but it's not like totally, because you see, you know, the lawyer side of things, and then you see the relationship with him and his daughter. Second half, they try to like mimic that, but he's a producer, he's not a detective. You know what I mean? And I start questioning all the plot holes in the second half. Now, you know, we don't want to go into spoilers, right? But how do we want to break this all down here? Should we stick with the first half for a few? Should we stick with the second half? Should we open it up? Because I'm assuming people that tuning in at this point, you either watched it or you didn't, you know?
Yeah, it's been out long enough where if you wanted to watch it, you could.
So, you know, I think we should throw them up, because we really need to like kind of talk about it in the full spectrum, I think, at this point. So, you know, if you haven't seen it, I recommend all around to check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I recommend it for sure.
Definitely worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely worth a watch. All right, let's break this down here. So it seems like his daughter, right, is gonna be. She fucking kills a guy. Like, I understand why. Obviously, the guy did 6 years for killing her mother, you know, and they gave him 6 years for the drug program or whatever. But it's like, okay, if she's capable of that, right? Why would they not continue her story, bro? I was captivated by her more than fucking almost anyone else.
Yeah, I thought she was going to end up, like, deep in the new truth.
Yeah,
like, she befriends, like, the leader or, like, the creator, whatever you want to call him. Was it Jun? No. Jin? I don't know, bro. The names are so hard. Like, it'd be one thing if his name was, like, Mark or something. You know, you could remember that. But, like, these names I've never heard of.
Jiang Jin Su.
Yeah, Jiang Jin Su, exactly. Yeah, because she was in tight with him, and you thought maybe for a second there was some kind of, like, I don't know, cult leader, like, manipulation, like, taking advantage of, like, a young girl kind of situation going on. Right. But yeah, so I thought they would have carried her over, at least her, if not the father as well. Because I think that would have made a good story right there. If she ends up, you know, entrenched in the new truth, and it's his job, like, you know, he goes rogue as a detective to try and save his daughter. Like, you could have done a whole other show right there.
Yeah, they could have totally stayed in that year for 6 episodes. You know, maybe flash forward like 6 months or something. They didn't need to go 4 years. Save that for season 2. Mm-hmm. You know,
exactly.
But, you know, we're left here with so many questions. We don't have the slightest clue what these things are, and I'm fine with that. I like that, but at the same time, right? Like, it makes me think, okay, are they even going to hell? like, is this even related to God? Is this some other weird super, like, did somebody cast a fucking spell? Like, where are we with these guys?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
The thing that, yeah, like, is it just a curse? Is it not
Right.
necessarily, traditional religion it's attached to? So, I mean, some people I've seen online were, theorizing that those things were some kind of aliens.
Interesting.
And I was like, I mean,
They
I
do
didn't
just kind of
my-
like jump out of nowhere. Like,
yeah,
in a
they
portal
phase kind of
thing.
in and out of reality. They got Scotty beaming them up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
And dude, there was something else. That very last scene, right? As soon as they showed that body in the case, I was like, this thing's coming back to life.
yeah,
Like, I knew it was going to happen. Like, because
yeah.
what else were they going to do in that moment that could continue? You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, there was definitely some other questions, like with the baby, what happened there? Like that
Right,
could have been
what
a
happened with the
cliffhanger
baby?
there.
Well, I mean, we haven't even said if anybody doesn't, but a lot of the things that the New Truth is trying to, keep it undercover. Like, why? Like, this isn't necessarily. Like, it's easy to point at sinners, like, oh, they're going to hell because they're sinners. But like a newborn baby, like, how does a newborn baby get bound for hell? Fresh out the box.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what did this newborn do that it's going to hell?
Well,
Yeah.
that could be seen as a criticism of Catholicism with original sin, because that's the the teachings in Christianity is that when you're born you have the sins of Adam and Eve, and if this always, I went to Catholic school my entire life, like grade pre-K all the way through college, and that was the one thing that didn't make sense to me. It's like this baby who hasn't done anything, if they die without being baptized, they're going to go to hell. Like it's just ridiculous. And so I guess, and there's obviously a lot of stuff you can compare it to Christianity or other religions, whatever, throughout this, but that's kind of where my mind went with that, with the newborn baby getting the decree.
Mm-hmm. And that opens up to the door to like these big questions, like, why do people sin? Especially those people who say they value humanity, right? Like, what the fuck? I was watching They Live with my class. Like, they were blown away, man. They were blown away. Especially that whole sequence when he like puts the glasses on at first. He's at the newsstand in the grocery store, and he's like, "You look okay. You look like the cheese dip of 1988." Or something like that. Right? Formaldehyde face. Dude, I mean, right? Why do people sin? And again, it opens up that conversation, right? God's work, like control, religion, control, government. It's all tied up in history, man. So now, what's any different here?
And I mean, and also the relationship between the New Truth, the religious group, and the Arrowhead, which are like the thugs of it.
Right.
And I mean, it brings you to like, all right, there's Republicans, there's Proud Boys, there's Democrats, there's Antifa. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
it's kind of, it's all kind of commentary on that stuff.
Absolutely. Which it's interesting because, I'm not very well versed in the politics of Korea, but I know there's a stark contrast between North and South. Right? But at the same time, it seems like they're talking about our country. You know what I mean? So, what is it? South Korea, that's
good. They're the good guys.
Yeah, they're good guys.
They're the good guys.
So in South Korea, is it a similar kind of government / situation that's going on in here in America, aka the elite sucking the life out of everyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the case most places you go in the world. I think Korea, those, from what I understand, a little bit more like progressive and actually kind of takes care of their people a little bit. But getting back to the North and South thing, I don't know if you noticed this, but the in the second half, the what is he, the commissioner or whatever the leader of the New Truth is? Did you catch his name by any chance?
Oh, the guy who was rocking the Jim Jones wannabe glasses.
Yeah.
Kim something.
Kim Jong-chil.
He was the Kim Jong-chil.
Kim Jong-chil. So, I mean, you look at North Korea, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un. I thought it was like Kim Jong-il's like chill brother. at first.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sure that wasn't a mistake, because that's a pretty recognizable name, the Kim Jong. Because even I forgot the grandfather's name, but he was Kim Jong something as well. So it's like when you look at like a dictator, authoritarian. Hey, I got it right that time. They kind of, I'm guessing they stuck with that theme because he was, he wasn't like super brutal, but you can tell like. The way he was running things, like they were keeping secrets, like the thing with the baby. They didn't want that getting out because if it comes out that someone, there's people who aren't sinners that are targeted by this entity, then that dismantles their whole religion.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing the guy says about God has to have principles, Like the idea of this just being random, it kind of... Well, that's the thing, like, just in religion in general, like, if God is all powerful and all caring, like, can he really be both? I mean, if he's all caring, like, why is there things like, childhood cancer and shit like that? Why can't he just eviscerate that? If he's all powerful, he should be able to wipe it away. If he can't, he's not all powerful. It's like, could God make a rock so heavy even he can't move it? And it's like... start getting into wacky shit like that.
Yeah. It's funny because later in the series they talk about it as like an earthquake or a natural disaster, and I was thinking about that in the beginning, and I was also thinking about it as like cancer. You know what I mean? You have like people who, chain smoke their whole lives and fucking live to like 90, bro. You know what I mean? And then you have people who don't even smoke and get lung cancer. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like Walter White, Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
that's real.
So it's and then it brings me to like hold on, let me find that spot. It scrolled down. You son of a bitch.
Well, why you looking? I mean, the initial cult leader, the young kid, when it's found out that he went down this path because he was decreed and told in 20 years this is going to happen. And there's that little like piece in the beginning when they show the news clip and talk about, the young leader of the New Truth, and they show him like stopping the guy from stabbing people and hugging him. And it's like, yeah, that's brave, but is it really brave, or is it like, well, I'm going to die like, you know what I mean? Like once like you're going to die, and are you just like, well, I'm bound for hell. I don't really understand why, but if I do these good deeds, will that stop me from going to hell?
Right,
so like, is it just that he was this enlightened dude, or was, you know what I'm saying?
Well, they try to band-aid that by showing the one guy who killed himself, and they brought him back to torture him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, why wait? Just knock yourself off at that point. 20 years, fucking standing around.
And also that time frame, like. It was just convenient for all the plot devices, like to have one be 10 seconds and one be 20 years. You know what I mean? If they kept it like consistent, in the beginning it was consistent. Everybody seemed to be like 3 to 5 days, you know?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in 20 years, what? Yeah. 10 seconds, what?
And also like the idea of calling it an angel. Like I think, Tones, you said when you were given like the synopsis or whatever in the beginning, like it doesn't really look like it. Like all the things you hear about angels, these bright white lights and beautiful creatures and like it's a fuck, that thing looked pretty demonic in its own right.
It looked pretty malicious, with the red eyes and like the deep voice.
Dude,
like
it
that
freaking looked like what's it called? Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah.
Remember, they brought that back. I saw it on TV the other day. It was adults doing it.
Oh yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah, they fucking brought it back.
I do want to say this about the original leader, though. You mentioned he got the decree 20 years, in 20 years you're going to die, whatever. Throughout the show, throughout the first couple episodes, you're not sure where he stands. You're not sure if he's full of shit. You're not sure if he's actually a good guy. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think he might actually be a good guy because if you know that you're going to hell anyway, like, why not just fuck around and do whatever you want?
Go wild.
Right, exactly. Even though you're going to end up at the same place. So the fact that he did try to take that time to do good things and to lead people in the right way leads me to think that he actually was a good person.
Yeah, the morality here is definitely conflicting in the first half, where in the second half it's like, He's an obvious bad guy. He's an obvious like Jim Jones-esque kind of character, you know?
Yeah.
He wants to like, you know, use it for the benefits. You know what I mean?
But even him, like, you don't get much background on him. Like, all of a sudden, he's just thrown into the last episode of the first half. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
the girl
right.
goes to speak to him about it, and it's like, yep, I'm in charge now. And you're like, what the fuck did you come from? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and I'm thinking about, there's a lot of parallels between the original founder and Jesus. You know, obviously, because he's like the creator of this new religion or whatever, and at his core, he does have good values, right? When he's teaching people, you know, how to, you know, act right, so that, you know, he is using fear to do it, you know, by you know, if you don't do the right thing, you're gonna end up in hell, which is what Christianity does. But if you look at the fast forward, all of a sudden you see how they take his original teachings and how they bastardize it for the new religion. You know.
Well, even the prophetizing of it. I mean, having, you know, they were able to pay that lady what, like $3 trillion. Like, where'd it come from? And then all these like elites show up wearing masks to watch front row seats. Yeah. Somebody getting, you know, slaughtered by giant demons. It's like, and even that, like, you know, they turned like that whole apartment into like a museum of this stuff. You know, just the idea of profiting off of religion. You know, like I seen somewhere it's like, you know, if you serve God for money, you serve the devil, and it's like, I can kind of see what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, it's like religion on itself is fine. It's the organization of it where shit starts getting sketchy. You know? Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Jesus and what he taught and what's in the New Testament, it's all great stuff. You know, like, it's all like, if you just, even if you're not a religious person, if you just take the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated, that right there, if everyone did that, the world would be a better place. But then all of a sudden, you know, you look at, you know, fast forward 2,000 years, some of the worst things that happen in humanity are because of religion. Because it happened in the name of God. Yeah, in the name of God. I mean, it's like, oh, God wanted me to do this. Who's to question what God wants you to do, right? If you could say, oh, God came to me and told me to do this, like, you can't like disprove that, you know. So like, it's almost a scary thing when you got someone in power who has religion on their side. Yeah, and even the when they try to mind fuck the Arrowhead kid, the wacky one, when they meet him in the second half and he's no longer painting his face at first, and you know they try to. He goes and talks to them, and they tell him like, "Oh, he picked you to get because you're the next Messiah." Like, it was a little just like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like,
how can this guy be such a figure for the Arrowhead and then be so gullible and stupid? You know what I mean? Yeah. And again, more convenient plot devices. You know? Yeah. I like, the more we talk about it, the more I'm like finding all this shit, and it's like it's like they tackle too much at once, you know? I think I don't know, maybe they just thought of it as being a limited series initially and threw that thing in there like, hey, who knows, down the line maybe we'll do a season 2 when they had the girl come back to life. But they really, unless it was just like, hey man, I need to make a couple bucks, let's write this series and get it out quick because Netflix is willing to pay us to do it or whatever, you know? Yeah. But it's like, it was a webtoon series. I didn't see any of it, but
I didn't see any. I saw it just after the fact that it was a webtoon. But like, they really could have expanded on a lot of other things, and some shit just felt so discombobulated and rushed. Yeah. You know, the second half really, it kind of lost a lot of its steam for me. Yeah. And up until that scene, you know, I guess the epilogue where they cut back and show that girl reincarnate essentially in the glass burst and her burnt skeleton, like all the dust starts coming back to it, and she, like, you know, if they were just gonna end it with that girl walking away with the baby in the backseat, like putting it, like driving away, I was just kind of like, well, what the fuck? You're not gonna explain why the one who's like the baby didn't die. the monsters managed to kill both parents who were protecting it. So was it like, oh well, the parents' love saved it? And I'm like, all right, well, the baby got a fucking scar on its head now in the shape of a lightning bolt because fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, season 2,
right.
We going to fucking Hogwarts in Korea, like.
Oh shit, that's hysterical. Hogwarts. Dude, but that's the problem with this, right? Because like it starts off so good, like I am so invested, and I'm invested the whole time, and I'm still invested for season 2, and it feels amazing as you're watching it because it's really well done. Like the visuals that you're getting, the editing, the music, like it's well done filmmaking. You know, they know how to grip you. Like that airport scene with the fucking kids was intense, man.
Oh, yeah.
That shit was intense. And then it's like you never see them again. Like 4 years later, you could have showed that kid like getting up into the ranks with the Scar Woman or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe we will in season 2, but you abandoned them. You abandoned the main character. Like that guy was a main character over the Scar Woman.
Yeah.
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 Soto. We'll just call her Soto from now on. It's easy to call her Soto.
So yeah, and I thought too. The other detective who was part of the Arrowhead secretly, I thought he would have came into play somehow. Maybe he would have been like within their ranks. You know, the guy with the glasses.
Yeah.
You know, they just kind of forgot to stop talking about it because wasn't he the one leaking like the information on the woman and her kids to the Arrowhead?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know he's just not there. Real quick.
Also, like the Arrowhead beatings. Like, yo, they're piping motherfuckers, and they're just getting up. Like,
that's what I'm saying. The girl, the attorney, her mom is like this old, feeble woman on a deathbed.
Yeah. And
they beat the dog shit out of her with pipes, and she's still like, you know, it's like, no, you're dead.
She got fucking brained.
Yeah. Oh man.
But
it's definitely hellish.
One thing about the Arrowhead I thought was interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed this. And this was more so in the first 3 episodes, as the movement gained more momentum, when the main Arrowhead guy was speaking on his like Twitch stream or whatever, you saw as he became more popular, more ads were popping up on the screen.
Yeah.
So again, it kind of goes into the money behind all this stuff. Because if you look at, you know, compare this to QAnon, I mean, maybe not. I think YouTube's taking a lot of this stuff down, but back early in the pandemic when QAnon was running hot in the streets, there was all these YouTube channels just putting out all this wild shit. And these guys are making money off it. It was all monetized. They got ads. They're getting sponsors, all this stuff. So like this religion, conspiracy business, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of money behind it. You know, and they get a lot of gullible people kind of following, and those guys at the top, those streamers, those content creators, they're the ones making the money off of it.
Right. Yeah, that was one part I wish I knew what the hell was in there, but I got the gist of it, right, with the advertising. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot packed in here, man. There's a lot, you know. Especially
and that's
now.
what's the thing is, like, why did they choose? There is so much, like, why choose to split it into 3, you know, basically 3 hours a piece of 2 different stories as opposed to just doing a full season of the first half and then coming back second season with the other stuff.
Even if they just added like a couple episodes to flesh things out a little bit more, because like it's not like it was
with fucking 9 episodes here. I mean, who knows what their budget was, but why did the story have to be told all at once? Were you that nervous that maybe you couldn't get a second season, but you wanted this shit to get out to try to keep people in as a draw? Maybe they didn't feel there would be call for a second season if it ended with, you know, the detective and the daughter just hugging at the fucking end. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, we kind of forgetting, like, you know, you guys are talking about the first cult leader, the young kid, wanting to do good and being a Christ-like figure, but, you know, don't forget, he did coerce this girl into burning somebody alive, regardless of the fact that it's true. You know, the murder of her mom, but a real Jesus figure, like, is about forgiveness and, you know, understanding. Like, this dude had a drug problem and blah, 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 and, you know, the shit happens the way it happened, but, you know, let's fucking chloroform him. Burn him alive. Yeah. It's like, what?
And even, you know, I don't know if you remember, he did that interview with the news program. And then while the detective was watching, he like adjusted his camera and he saw his daughter's sweatshirt hanging in his in his closet. So he was taunting him too. Like he knew what he was doing. Like he wasn't. So you're right. I did kind of forget about that stuff.
Yeah.
But even kind of getting back to Jesus, I mean, Jesus, he was alive 2,000 years ago, and what you're reading in the Bible is only the good stuff. Who knows what kind of other stuff he might have done, because he was human, he was a man. That's what they teach. So like he could have made mistakes and committed sins and stuff too, but like they don't tell you that stuff, which is the same way.
You got a boner?
Do I have a boner?
No, Jesus got a boner.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like there's I don't know if you're familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls, but there's all these Gospels that they just left out of the Bible. And some of them say that Mary Magdalene was his wife and he had kids with her. Not that that's sinful, but like they try to act like he was this pious, and then they paint her as a prostitute. So and it's kind of similar to.
I know the Catholic Church release has pulled back on her being a prostitute.
Okay, I haven't kept up to date. I just know what I learned when I was in school. And, they were like,
because
she's a dirty whore.
Apparently are like right next to each other, where they speak of Mary Magdalene, and then in the next thing is like, and the whole thing about the prostitute about to get stoned. They're like coincide. They butted up, so it was like people's natural thing to think that it was the same person, but apparently
Mandela.
Exactly, Mandela effect. But
see episode 2, folks.
But yeah, so I mean, I believe one of the Dead Sea Scrolls is a story about Jesus killing an animal or something, and then fucking being fucked up about it and like bringing it back to life. I forget exactly what it is. It's been a while since I brushed up on my Dead Sea Scrolls.
It's been a while.
But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's reasons why they handpicked this shit and put it in the Bible. And the same people did that. Like even the idea of Mary being born without original sin and the Immaculate Conception and all that, apparently that wasn't added to, Catholic dogma until like the fucking 1930s or some shit.
Really?
Because they decided that they needed to like for people who were looking for like a female, deity or whatever, they wanted to be able to keep them all, come to us for everything, like we even got holy females, and let's make Mary more divine than she already is just by being his mom,
Yeah, no, and even Christmas. I mean, Christmas, Jesus supposedly, like if you, look back at the data, like supposedly he was born, I think, in like the springtime or something, but in order to, get the pagan converts over to their side, they coincided with the winter solstice. Because like they're used to having that huge celebration they would do, so they're like, all right, we'll throw them a bone, like we'll include them. So it's like they're very flexible with what they're willing to put out there.
Bro, as long as the collection
reminds me
plate's
of
full.
those guys in the room. Like the guys in the room, like trying to figure out what to do because of the video.
Yeah.
It's like, I just imagine like a bunch of priests in their priest tracksuits in the 1930s, like trying to figure out, what do we do? Do we consider her a hua or not?
Yeah, but that's the, like, we adopt original sin. We can't adopt original sin now. It's too late. You know what I mean? Like, dude, what the fuck?
Oh, man. But yeah, like these questions, like I mentioned earlier, like why do people sin, but other things like upholding righteousness and justice and fearing damnation, is that truly righteous and just, right? And then other things like what else makes humans repent other than fear? And it's so crazy because like I'm always like, yeah, you see that guy drive like an asshole? Fucking, I wish I was a road enforcer. I'll rip him out of the car and you throw him a beating. You'll see he'll never drive like that again. Yeah, man. Fucking instill fear in the motherfuckers.
Well, so that's one deterrent, but like, and that's what they went with the new truth. They made it seem like fear was the only way to stop people from doing bad things. But what about like shame or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like when you do something, you feel bad about it after the fact. It's not like, let's say, you're
remorse.
A kid. Remorse, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like let's
Another
say
question: do murderers even feel remorse? Right?
Yeah, some might. Some might just be sick fucks that are sick in the head and don't feel.
But
remorse,
now we're studying like serial killers and murderers and shit, so we're gonna find out, like these answers, like why, if a serial killer versus somebody who kills somebody in like the heat of the moment, like you fucking catch a girl with somebody and you fucking blast them, you know, versus like, yeah, I used to skin cats when I was 12, you know what I mean? Stark contrast, you know?
Yeah, it's the difference between premeditated and, like you said, heat of the moment.
And that's the thing too, is like, you know, even when it comes to the punishment of these things, it's like, all right, the death penalty, you know, a lot of people are for it, a lot of people are against it. But, and, you know, as far as maybe making the victim's family feel better that this person who killed, you know, eye for an eye type stuff, but is it really a deterrent? Because think of the murders that happen. If they're premeditated, they planned it out and they think they're going to get away with it anyway. So the death penalty is not going to make them afraid to do it because they already think they're getting away with it because they have it planned out. And heat of the moment, crimes of passion type stuff, it's a reflex. You know what I'm saying? You walk in on your old lady getting fucking gorilla pounded by some guy and you end up stabbing him. And, you know, that's
that is vivid imagery right there.
I gotta paint the picture for our listeners.
I was just picturing the fucking goddamn 3 gorillas from the show pounding her.
Oh, I thought I was picturing someone gorilla pounding my whole leg. Just fucking cold fuck. No, but
oh god.
You know, but I mean, but that's the thing is like, you know, if it's a heat of the moment thing, the death penalty's not going to deter them. If it's premeditated, they think they're going to get away with it. That's not going to deter them. You know what I mean? And I'm not really saying I'm against it. I'm just saying like the idea, like, well, we got to have it because that's the only thing to stop us from fucking murdering each other. It's like, probably not. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if it was the only thing stopping us from murdering each other, there wouldn't be any more murder in places where there's a death penalty.
Yeah.
You know, like it hasn't stopped anyone yet. Even jail, I mean, jail, death penalty, whatever, like there's all these deterrents about not committing crimes and they still happen. You know, so is fear really the best deterrent?
Yeah. Dude, I think murder is breaking records all over the country right now.
Did you see what the LAPD announced today?
No.
They asked for tourists to not come to LA because they can't guarantee their safety. And the police commissioner of the LAPD said that it's like the purge in LA right now.
I did see that actually.
God. I believe it, bro.
Yeah, I did from all the shit I was reading about. If you know, if it doesn't cost more than $950, steal it. We're not going to do anything to you.
There's all these smash and grabs over there, right? It's
just walking in. If it just take it, what does it do? They're going to call the cops. Ain't nothing going to fucking happen to them.
So maybe prison is a deterrent then.
It got to be at least a little bit, some kind of consequence to what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know this is a whole different conversation, but like, bro, if you don't have anything, prison is it's a hell of a spot, yo. You have some fucking friends, you get some meals, it's warm at times.
Yeah, 3 meals a day in bed.
That's why people get institutionalized, and that's why some of the laws and the sentencing of things over petty crimes, you know, when they run shit concurring with, you know, oh, well, you had an illegal firearm and you know, held up a store and all right. I mean, I did talk about it. Yeah, like they just add all those on and, you know, instead of being like, well, you know, in the act of stealing the car, you had an illegal firearm and then making it like one sentence, they just add that time on top of each other and they keep a 20-year-old kid in prison for fucking 40 years. Like, what kind of fucking value is he going to have to society when he gets out of prison at 60?
You're allowed to talk about this stuff now, right?
Yeah, I can talk about it now because I don't work at the prison no more. But, I mean, you see some of the sentences these kids would get over shit, and you're just like, what the fuck, man? Like,
and they have nobody to back them up on the outside and fight it.
Yeah, and you're just, you know, you become institutionalized. Like, you're used to getting your 3 meals. These dudes who purposely get in trouble to try to stay in there as long as they can, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look at Morgan Freeman in Shawshank. You know, he spends his whole life in prison. He gets out and he doesn't know what to do. Wait, no.
Spoiler alert.
Was it? No, who he was? He's
Shawshank.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but was he the one that hung himself, or was that the other guy?
Nah, that was the little white man.
Right. Okay. Well, same concept though. You know, he just didn't know what to do with himself. Like the world passed him by, especially with how fast technology is growing these days. Like if you went into prison in like the 70s or the 80s, and you come out now, you got smartphones, computers. you know, self-driving cars, like all this shit.
Bro,
You
I
can-
had
90s,
one, even 90s to
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I had one inmate that he went to prison at 14 years old in 1975. He was still in prison. He never had sex that he wanted, had it at least. Fucking,
Ouch.
he's never driven a car. Like, you know, what if he gets out now? Is he going to be a functioning, like a, you know, contributing member to society?
What's he gonna do? You know,
What's
no,
he, like
he
50
fucking-
now or something? I don't remember.
He's
the
in
years
his,
it
like,
said.
he's pushing 60.
Yeah. What do you... Dude, that's wild.
I mean, good luck getting any job at 60, let alone if you spent the last 50 years in prison. You know, who's
Yeah.
going to hire you? You know, even if you wanted to work and do something productive. And, you know, what skills do you have being in prison that whole time? You know how to make a fucking knife out of a toothbrush. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's wild. We got to do a whole episode where I ask you questions. Like, is there any, like, Ted Bundy lore that you found out about there or anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I actually worked with a guy that worked there while Bundy was in there.
Oh, yeah?
Wow.
And interacted with him. He
Yeah.
was a good dude, a real good dude. He's an older guy. He was like, he retired and came back as an officer. Straight, and he was like on the wing when they found that Bundy was like sawing through the fucking bars and shit.
Oh, shit.
I thought you were saying Bundy was a good guy. You're talking about the officer.
No,
Yeah,
the officer.
okay,
Yeah.
Al
Shout out
Bundy,
to
Al
him.
Bundy.
He was a good dude.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, friggin' sorry for that little side tangent, but it felt right.
That had to be done.
It fits. You know, these conversations take us down rabbit holes when we're having like legit
Yeah.
conversations, you know?
For sure.
We're not just like, yo, that kill was crazy when he hit her with the cleaver in the forehead, you know?
Yeah. That smear across the bus was phenomenal.
I did want to mention this one thing because we were kind of I was talking before about, you know, the bastardization of like the message and stuff that they ended up doing. There was in episode 5. At this point, they were televising these executions. I thought this was an interesting piece of imagery. They have the guy, you know, sitting in front of the camera, like confessing his sins or whatever, and behind him is this big mural of Jung Jin-soo or whatever his name is, the founder, like holding these children and stuff. And then once the demons come in and beat the shit out of him, all of a sudden there's like blood splatter all over the mural, like covering his face and shit. And I was just like, that is like the perfect imagery of you know, taking this beautiful message and thing and just covering it in blood,
Smearing it.
smearing it.
Smearing it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That was a beautiful image.
And
It really was. And it reminded me of this short story called To Be or Not to Be by Kurt Vonnegut. And not like Shakespeare's, but the number 2, to be the letter, or to be R, not 0, to be. Like that's the title of the story.
Mhm.
And in the story, it's about, you know, population control society where, you know, people are able to live until like 160 and look youthful and stuff, and you have to voluntarily give up a life to have a child. So the story's about this guy who's about to have triplets, so he needs
Oh,
3
shit.
people to sacrifice. And in the hospital, it's like a painting, a mural on the wall, you know, and it's like a beautiful, you know, garden, and the doctors are there and the patients, you know what I mean? And it's just such a facade to what's really going on in the world and the society. And when as soon as I saw that scene, it reminded me of that, because spoiler of the end of the story, he ends up having to shoot some motherfuckers who were basically the people in the painting. So yeah, fucking crazy, you know? It's
Yeah. Yes. I mean, like you were saying, that there is a lot of, like, it's a well done show in terms of, you know, the music and the imagery and all this stuff, but there was some stuff some questions that kind of were left unanswered. Another thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was some of the sins these people were committing, like, weren't that bad. Like, a couple of the people, like, were gambling addicts. Like, if you actually have an addiction, is that a sin? Like, you know, like, if you can't help yourself, you know, like, I gamble, right? Like,
That's a
every
good question.
once a week, I drive across the bridge to Jersey and place my bets on my FanDuel for the Sunday football. You know, and I do that. So, like, am I going to get a decree? Am I going to hell?
I think so.
Well, maybe for other reasons, but I don't think I should for gambling. I mean, that's on
Well,
the bottom of the totem pole of shit I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, probably stay. As long as they don't get into like your internet search history, you should be all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. But
Don't let them know where the bodies are.
But and that's another reason
Good
that makes me
question,
think
though.
it might not be such like a divine presence, you know, making these
Well,
decisions.
that's the thing too, you know, because of the like in the little, you know, the thing at the end there where the girl gets brought back to life. You know, is she the only one that's coming back to life, or everybody who's been decreed and fucking zapped gonna come back to life? Is it really hell? Is it a purgatory thing where, like, yeah, you did some fucked up shit and you need to get put in a timeout, but now here's your chance to go back to Earth and fucking live a good life, and you know.
And are they going to come back changed? Like, is she going to come back like evil? You know, like,
Is she the same age as she was when she came back, or did she age 4 years in hell? Was it 4 years to her, or was it, you know, quick to her, like a quick little talking to, you know? Like, listen, bitch, you know, lock that box down.
Stay away from the married men.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's, you know,
That's a
the
whole
thing too,
other
the quick,
conversation.
like, you know, they're so quick to be like, you know, he's a sinner, and like the arrowhead. And I mean, look, you go back to even the Salem witch trials. What was the easiest way to show you weren't a witch? Was the point that the next bitch, like, that's a witch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's not married. She was sucking his dick. She's a witch. You know?
You know, that kind of wild shit. So, I mean, I think the show did a good job at, you know, bringing up some of these topics about tribalism and religion and belief and, fucking, you know, morality and everything.
Absolutely.
Just the second half didn't execute it nearly as well as the first half did.
Right. You know, the family dynamic in the first half felt so much real. Like, the decree to the baby, it kind of like took you a little bit out of it. It didn't feel as like real versus, you know, the whole situation with the police officer and his daughter being mixed up, you know, in with the new order, the new world order. New world
I thought
order.
you called the New Day. I was like,
It's the new day. Yeah, it does a good job of bringing up the big questions while keeping it entertaining to the point where I'm not sitting there bored, but I am questioning, you know, plot holes and shit now. You know what I mean? And again, that's like the difference between that and a show like Breaking Bad or Sopranos, where I'm not questioning plot holes one bit. You know what I mean? Like, any kind of plot hole has a fucking cement cover up over it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those, in my mind, those are like the two GOAT shows. So it's not. I don't know if it's fair to compare this to them, but I know what you're saying. Where it's like you can see where they maybe like cut some corners.
Think those, I think shows like Sopranos and Breaking Bad, though, because those are shows that are more. I mean, they're reality based. When you get into like this, like whether you want to call it horror, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever it is, there's. You know, when the rules aren't 100% clear in the first place, it's harder to avoid shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of like goes with the time frame that I mentioned earlier. Like, all of a sudden you have 20 years out of nowhere. This guy is 20 years, then out of nowhere to show the convenience of the guy losing his daughter 10 seconds. You know what I mean? But there was everybody else was 3 days, 5 days. You know, so it just felt like, again, a plot device versus a shoddy plot device versus, you know, just organically happening.
Makes me wonder too with the, you know, is there a bigger picture to it? Is there, you know, are they going to maybe, you know, if it does come back for more seasons, are they going to stray away from this being some kind of, you know, spiritual divine entity kind of thing and go to some kind of like overlord controlling things and putting things into place? Like, I'm gonna give this guy, let this guy know that in 20 years this is gonna happen because I want all this other shit to start falling in line. He needs to become the cult leader. You know, this shit all kind of is predetermined.
My theory on this whole thing is that it's not, a god giving out decrees. I don't know how, but I think there's some way someone is like picking people out and like sending these entities to them.
Interesting.
Like you're saying, maybe there's some kind of overlord where they realize like, okay, if I want my agenda, if I want this thing to progress, I need to tell this guy in 20 years that's going to happen. I need to make an example of this person, make an example of that person, and like, I don't know who it would be. That's just like a hunch.
I was even thinking, maybe something in the realm of like a time travel, like we got to go back, like we have to fix something, or this person needs to be taken out. You know what I mean? Like in the future, we know we have to do X, Y, and Z to make the future as good as possible. So who knows? Maybe that baby caught the decree because he's gonna grow up to be fucking Korean Hitler. You don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, speaking
But now
John
that Connor
Connor
saved him, he's gonna be the chosen one and take out Voldemort.
speaking of,
And the face kind of looked like Voldemort.
The baby face?
No, the fucking decree face.
Yeah.
And it comes like bends into reality. His nose is all pressed down.
Yeah.
It's fucking Voldemort, bro.
The baby looked a little weird too.
This is fucking Harry Potter East.
Yo, that was definitely a CGI baby, right?
Yeah, there was something up with that
I
baby.
thought it was like, you ever see like those babies they make that are like made of like rubber?
Yeah, like you
practice
see
ones.
it in school.
Yeah, like they make they even make like Avatar babies, like from the movie Avatar, like the little blue guys.
Yeah.
And they look like real things, and like you show like, the dude like pressing its fucking face all the way in, and it's made out of the same thing the fleshlight is. It's that space age skin.
That should not be how they're made. Who knows what people are doing with those babies?
Oh
I
shit.
don't know. You just took it to a dark place.
Well, you said the fleshlight. I mean, like, you see a fleshlight. What do you do with it? There's only one use
I
for
would
that.
feel bad if I was the NASA scientist that created that material I used for fucking fleshlight.
There's so many possibilities. What can we use this for? Let's fuck it.
For space age material. It's like, yep, gonna make that into a pocket vagina. Like,
Oh shit. Why? It's like a special kind of material. It's not like a rubber.
no, it's like apparently it's space age material. It's like developed by like NASA scientists. It's like the closest thing to human skin they make.
Oh shit.
I didn't realize that, but I just use mine. I don't pay attention to what's made out of.
Fucking right now.
It just works. That's funny, bro. Yeah.
Getting back to the baby real quick, though. What do we think happened there? Like, why was the baby saved?
That's a good question.
I do think that if they do come around to fully explain it, it's gonna be like a sacrifice, like the parents' love for the child, like saved it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Almost like a Garden of Eden in reverse type thing,
like a 2-for-1 kind of deal. Like
Love always just overpowers evil.
Yeah. And then some. I think too. I forget if I read it somewhere or maybe I watched something on YouTube about it. But somebody was saying maybe that lady Park or whatever her name was, maybe she was resurrected because they were only supposed to take the baby and they took 2 lives instead of 1. So they had to balance it back out.
Maybe.
But I think that's going to take way too much explaining, so I don't think it's going to go down that route.
I thought you were going to say that Park, or whatever her name was reincarnated as the baby, and they're like, "You're back. You're not done yet. We're going to punish you again." But not yet. Yours makes more sense, I think. But
Season 2 got a green light.
yeah, got the green light. I have a feeling the original detective might be back. I feel like because in the first half of the season he was working pretty closely, pretty well with the lawyer. What was her name? Soto, we're calling her, the Soto firm or whatever.
The Soto lawyer, yeah. Was she Kim? I forget. Yang or something.
Min
Hygiene or something.
Yeah, Min.
Yeah, it was Min. See, you know what's confusing about?
Was he the taxi driver at the end?
I don't know. I don't even remember. Maybe he could have been. I was going to say maybe he's doing like behind the scenes stuff for them. Like since he's a detective, maybe he's like finding the people that have the
ahead
decree.
of time for them to
Exactly.
try to track them down ahead of time before the new truth finds out about them, or the arrowhead.
Said the new day.
I always did. I gotta keep
He
catching.
said the new truth.
But Big E and Kofi.
Oh yeah,
See,
that's fucking funny.
the confusing thing about the names, and I don't know if you knew this, but in Korean culture, a lot of times they'll say like the last name first.
Yeah.
I found this out because during pandemic, the Korean baseball organization was the first sports league to come back. So I was just like
That's what you
waking
were
up at
gambling
like
on?
I was waking up like 3 a.m. and watching Korean baseball, and like
You're like the last person alive that still watches fucking baseball.
I know, and yeah, I could go off on a whole rant on why baseball's dying, which I won't. I'll spare you guys from being bored.
And I'm a little disappointed in you that you were watching Korean baseball instead of all the ridiculous shit they put on ESPN, like fucking professional cornhole and stuff like that.
I watched that too for a little bit, but like I wanted my baseball back. I miss my Yankees, so I ended up becoming a fan of the Latte Giants. That's who I was rooting for. But yeah,
Awesome.
wake up at like 3 a.m. to go watch them. Yeah.
Drives across the bridge to Jersey at 3 a.m. Makes his bets. Fucking Korean baseball.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But the gambling's coming to New York soon, so I won't have to make that drive anymore. A couple months, it should be here.
Gambling and weed. You guys might never leave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it might be a problem.
Dude, it's about time. It's fucking about time.
I know.
That's another podcast episode.
Hey, you guys got any final thoughts on this bad boy?
I think we fucking pounded it out like those 3 gorillas.
We gorilla fucking shit out of this episode.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, I'm good. I don't think.
Oh wait, hold on. I gotta go back to the symbolism of the fucking eagles eating in the desert. Hold on,
Oh Lord.
I don't remember any Eagles. Who was this?
Fucking, you don't remember? It was like it was in the very beginning. It was in like the first episode. They were like when he was in the plains, the eagles scavenged the dead bodies.
That's when that was the lie he told, right? About why he went down before he admitted that he had a decree. He said that he stumbled upon somebody getting the soul sucked.
Yeah.
So it was a lie anyway, so I doubt they meant any of the symbolism that you have.
Was it a lie?
Yeah, because he said he went down the route of becoming a cult leader because he stumbled upon somebody getting fucking soul sucked by the gorillas. But then in the third episode, he's telling the detective that he went down that route because he got decreed. And you also realize he's still trying to figure out why he got decreed. That's why he gets so like aggressive with Park when he's like, where's your husband? Like, was he married? Like their father, was he married to somebody else? Like he needs the validation that she sinned in some way. Like he's trying to find out what, he doesn't understand why he got chose for hell, regardless of how he lived. And I think it was a little raw for them gorilla dudes to be fucking bitches up if they were giving themselves up, like, easily. Like, if you just sit in the chair waiting, why are they beating the dog shit out of you first before they're sending you to hell as it is?
Yeah.
Like, you got all of eternity to fucking do it.
Like, fucking burning for all damnation isn't fucking enough.
You know what? If that is a lie, eagles don't fucking scavenge dead bodies. Vultures do.
Yeah.
So he fucked up in the story. Like maybe it is a lie.
No,
It is a lot.
I will say this about Netflix and their subtitles and all this stuff. They've gotten criticism in the past for not being like 100% accurate with the original language. So maybe there was something there with him lying and you're able to pick up on that. It might just be bad subtitle placement as well. Because I know in Squid Game there was a couple of lines that were supposed to have like a lot, like a second meaning or like a deeper meaning. And the way it translated through the subtitle, like you weren't able to pick up on it. Like people who spoke Korean and watched it with American subtitles would say that it doesn't match up. Like
But that's just language in general.
Right,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like the literal way that you would translate the words probably is 100% right, but culturally, like the context in which it's said, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
shit is different among the cultures and language. So things like that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think it's necessarily Netflix's fault. Like the words are most likely 100%.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I'm not saying they're doing it like purposely or whatever. What I'm saying is like, you know, they might miss a little, like, you know, they probably just have a program that does the subtitles.
Yeah.
And they might just miss that and not, you know, it may be like a literal translation, but it might not be exactly what they meant to say in terms of like meaning. So like maybe they don't dive deep enough into it to really kind of figure out what they were saying to fix it. I don't know, because I've noticed that with multiple foreign shows that I've watched on there, where it's like you can just tell it doesn't match up to exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen it before because I always have subtitles on Netflix anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you watch it with the English dub, sometimes the English dub is different than the English subtitle.
Yeah.
So it's like when it's slightly off, it you know, it just depends, I guess.
You know, this, I feel like this, you know, falls into this like Netflix show category. I know it's a Netflix show, but what I mean is like my wife watches these shows on like Hulu and, you know, Netflix and like, you know, original like content, and bro, they lack something. Like this, like this is probably one of the better Netflix shows that I've seen, but it just feels like it's lacking something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Netflix, a lot of their stuff has been getting better. Their original movies, their series. Because a couple of years back, Netflix movies were like, you know, glorified Lifetime movies. They really weren't, you know, or like Sci-Fi Channel fucking movies. Like,
yeah.
you know, Sharktopus or some shit like that. But I mean, they've gotten better, but you know, these things are done on budgets. Like
this is what I've seen. Like they're putting out shows that have a lot of fucking sex, like extreme amounts of sex, right? Or extreme amounts of fucking violence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just like, you know, what's going on here?
Yeah,
that's what sells, though, bro.
Yeah,
but it's not quality like 5-star shows. Like, if I had to rate this on a scale, I give this 3.25, maybe 3.5 for the big questions that it brings up and handles nicely. Mm-hmm. But it is not a 4, and it's definitely not a 5.
No.
In my opinion,
there's so much out there to absorb as far as like options for entertainment across all these different streaming platforms. I mean, every streaming platform now has its own, you know, original series, original this. They're fighting over like scraps. And the one thing I'll give Netflix kind of props for is that they're going and putting these shows from like these Korean shows and giving them a bigger platform, because at least you could say what you want about this shit. At least these, I mean, other than the stupid Harry Potter fucking comparisons I've been making, but like these things are original at least. Like everything they're putting out over here in the States are all fucking reboots or revamps or, you know, blatantly ripping off something else. You know, I mean, you turn on a regular fucking TV channel, like they used to have that show Porn Stars with the porn shop, and then now every fucking channel has a show about that.
Right.
You know, they got all these guys on Animal Planet are making fish tanks. Now Nat Geo has a show about guys making fish tanks. Like they're so afraid to spend money on something that doesn't fucking become like profitable, that they don't want to try new ideas. That's why we're getting remakes of fucking, you know, all these old ass movies, because they say, all right, well, at least there's people that are going to come out for that.
Yeah. And
so at least they're giving these things like Squid Game. I mean, not that, you know, survival games or anything new. You go back to Running Man and fucking, you know, countless other fucking things like that. But at least it's a different take on shit.
Right. It's the same universal topics and themes, but it's just a different take on it, a unique take on it, you know?
And that's what I'll give Netflix credit for, because I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago, they made the decision to invest like I want to say something like $10 billion into their original content. And they knew that, like, we're just going to pump out as much original content as we can instead of, like, using that money to go buy these older shows or whatever. So I'll give them credit for trying, because I do like original stuff. Like, sometimes like, with these remakes and stuff, it's just like, oh, come on, we're doing this again? You know, so I do give them credit for that. But I agree with what Joey said earlier, that there's, like, some things you watch on there where it's just like you get halfway through and you're like, I just don't care about this anymore. Like, this just isn't good.
Yeah, and that's why I'm afraid to start
filler.
new shows.
Yeah,
because it's like, dude, I can't. This is fucking 6 hours of my time, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, they
what
also, I
come
mean,
on.
you gotta watch what you invest in too. Like that Cowboy Bebop show. A couple of people at work told me really good things about that. They announced today that they canceled it. They're not bringing it back for a second season.
yeah. Well, I mean,
And apparently, like, it did pretty well, but as well, it didn't do well enough for what it cost to make.
Yeah.
So they're like,
That-
fuck it, we're not
yeah.
coming back for the second
That
season.
needed to come out like 20 years ago, not in 2022, where who the fuck knows about Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who watch anime, and like I asked them about it, and they were saying like the original, like the actual anime, is one of their favorites, but they're like, I wouldn't trust Netflix to do it right, you know, because they just, I don't know. But again, like you said, it's like a little late for what they're doing. But I mean,
It makes me think, like, is it because they try to like force it out in such a little, like, think about the amount of time they used to spend between seasons on these shows that we're talking about, the masterful ones. You know, they weren't
Well,
just
I mean,
like cranked out.
And that's the thing too. Like, you know, it seems like you get the ones that are successful, the Stranger Things, Ozark. You know, there's a lot of time off between those fucking series coming out.
Right.
To the point where I almost feel like I have to rewatch the shit because I don't fucking remember what happened.
No, I was about to rewatch Ozark because the new season comes out in January. Like, I don't remember. I binged like all the last, was it 3 seasons are out right now? I binged it all like in a couple weeks. So like,
phenomenal. That show,
yeah, it was a great show.
Is as good as Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, any of that shit. You know, fucking Stranger Things. I mean, I know the pandemic backed stuff out, but the last season of Stranger Things almost came out 2 years ago.
2019.
Yeah, even from season 2 to season 3 before the pandemic, it took mad long.
Yeah, it took over a year for that one. You know.
Yeah, I'm actually rewatching that right now. I was looking it up. First season was 2016, then 2017, then 2019, and now here we are almost in 2022. And I don't think, well, they have the trailer out for it. I don't know if they said when it's releasing, but
I think in the summer it's coming out.
okay.
You know what's coming out on the 31st?
Cobra Kai.
You got it. Let's see how bad this season's going to be.
The Witcher is coming out this month too. You ever watch The Witcher, Joe?
Nah, I heard it's pretty good, though.
I couldn't get into
I think
it.
it'd be up your alley. Oh, you're a bitch.
I tried.
I
I watched like 2 episodes and I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
I watched it, and then me and Teresa literally watched it in a fucking day. It was like shitty weather on a weekend. We were both home, and we were like, I knew the new season was coming out, and it's like, I don't fucking remember a lot about it. So we put it on. We ended up sitting home and watching. It's like 8 episodes, I think. We watched the whole fucking shit again in a day. And you'll like it, Joe. Check it out.
Check it out. There's a show coming out, The Wheel of Time.
It's out already. I heard it's good. I haven't had a chance to watch it.
I read
yet.
the first book, like, when I first started reading books when I was like 20, 21 years old. I read that, only the first book in the series, and I was like, The Wheel of Time, I know this one. Oh yeah, that book I fucking read. And so I want to like reread it before I watch it now, but it's like, again, same thing. I want to fucking read Dune before I watch it too. Am I ever gonna get the time to do this shit?
Read if you're gonna read it first and then watch it. It'll make more sense because it is a lot of information they're throwing at you. Don't listen to him about the movie. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Just watch Star Wars. The best parts of Dune is what George Lucas stole and put in Star Wars.
George Lopez
J Mac is an uncultured swine. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's an uncultured
I'm sure
swine.
that's it.
Oh man.
Watching a fucking movie about spice trades fucking 9,000 years ago.
9,000 years in the future.
Whatever.
So did Earth?
Time is not
exist
linear.
in Dune?
We talked about it during the Mandela effect.
There's mentions of Earth, but like humanity is so like they basically destroyed Earth, and it's like so far in the past, and they're so spread out across the galaxy that no one like unless you're a historian, you don't really know about Earth. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we should wrap this up while we talk
Yeah.
about everything.
Yeah. We'll I guess
Good call.
we'll wrap it up there. So yeah, Hellbound. Definitely give it a shot. I think. Don't.
Yeah, worth a watch for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely worth the watch. Joey gave it like 3.5 out of 5. That seems pretty accurate. I was gonna say 7 out of 10, which if you do the math, checks out. Same thing. Yeah, I don't know, J-Mac, you want to give it a score or I don't.
Yeah, I'm in that same vein. I think, the first half, if it stayed in that lane, it would have been higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
But that second half, definitely, it kind of threw the sand on the fire a little bit. But still interesting, still, worth it. And I'm still, if season 2 comes out, I'm watching the motherfucker, so.
Yes, sir.
Definitely thought-provoking, which we do like here. We like to think about things.
Yep.
But
Think about things, talk about things, and smoke things. That's how we roll.
Exactly. Before we wrap it up, forgot to mention this earlier. Check out our link tree. It's got all of our socials. Keep an eye out for the Spotify on there. Keep an eye on the blog. We have a new post up, right? J-Mac, you posted
Yeah,
up the other
went up
day?
the other day. Kind of Christmas related-ish, almost, maybe, a little bit. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
give it a whirl. Somebody on
Give it a
WordPress liked
swirl.
it. I was like, what? So,
Ho, 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 ho.
Nice.
Yeah. Hopefully more articles coming my way. Things open up next year. Less work. More writing.
Love it.
been trying to keep up on the Instagram, just, in between posting stuff about the show itself, just shit that I think people might find interesting or funny or whatever. So, stuff from movies, random wrestling things, had some exploding barbed wire baseball bat action in the story today.
I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
How do you think they did that?
It's magic, bro. It's pro wrestling. Everything's real.
Of course. So yeah,
Gunpowder and fucking sharp barbed wire. Duh.
just keep an eye out for that Christmas episode. Like we were saying earlier, that'll be out a week after this is out, not 2 weeks like normal. So we'll do that Black Mirror stuff. And yeah, any closing words before we get on out of here?
See you next week. Later.
Peace.